Busy weekend. This is one of those weekends. So many fights, so many things to pay attention to. We're either coming out of this weekend looking really good, keeping our reputation on track in terms of doing what we do, film study, research, calling the fights, predicting the fights, and getting winners. So I gave you guys my long parlay. It's up on YouTube. It's up in our Discord. I even threw it on Instagram. So in the Discord today, because we got fights starting in a couple hours, I got to do a little bit of a mini day trip. So I have to hit the road here literally after this live stream. So what I'm going to do is before I pack my vehicle to get on the road, I'm going to give you guys in the Discord, I'm going to give you guys my lock of the week. And then when I get to where I need to go tomorrow, I'll give you guys my method of victory parlay. There's fights today, though. We get through today for our long parlay. I think we're going to be good. Guys, the link is pinned in the comments section here to join our Discord. So as you guys are checking in, tell me what's up. Tap in. Let me know if you like the picks. We don't have to agree with everything. That's my favorite thing about our channel, about our community, about our network. We don't have to agree. Guys, in the Discord, though, keep it adult-like. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't... You know, in my past, when I had to manage people and, you know, when I was teaching, in Vegas, I used to teach for this leadership company after I finished grad school. And we would do these workshops, seminars, these weekend-long getaways, teaching corporates, teaching entrepreneurs, things like public speaking, things like how to get out of your comfort zone, how to be a better leader, all that sort of stuff. And in my experience teaching leadership courses, I would always be around other teachers who were either really into like micromanaging people, micromanaging their students, sort of speaking over them, telling them, yelling at them. That's not how I teach. It's not how I coach. That's not how I govern. In the Discord, keep it adult like. You know, 99.9% of the Discord so far the last 6 weeks have been amazing. But every now and then, there's a couple of you guys who kind of like get misogynistic. You guys, I can't tell you guys how to live your life, but like talk trash about each other. Every now and then, you guys will get a little bit sort of racist. You know what I mean? Like keep it adult-like, mate. You know what I mean? Don't let your inner flaws, don't let your own insecurities project out onto the group. Because when you guys are, you know, like I said, 99.9% of the chat has been amazing. But when you guys let your emotions get the best of you and you put that out into the ethos, people are watching, people are listening. Like, you know, if you have something about your personality that you need to work on, that people online are allowing you to become the worst possible version of yourself, work on yourself. That being said, let's talk about these fights. Let's get into it. I'm going to say what's up. We got 20 people in. Let's check in. Get the thumbs up. Let's get going. You boys are ready to do it. David Eister, salute. Who is televising Aglacies Shishkin? Guys, do we got an answer for him? If you go to BoxRec, Aglacies Shishkin, Eye of the Tiger in Canada. Guys, in the Discord, if one of you boys find a link for the Shishkin fight, could you put it in the Discord, please? Thank you. Insider group. Rando in the house. Johnny, how's the weather? Rando Light, my guy, we're going into spring. So this first week of September, it's 6:30 in the morning. It's getting light out. So this is my patio. So that direction is my outdoor patio. There's trees. You guys hear birds. That direction, I have like a kitchen, but there's trees there too. My whole point is it's kind of getting lighter and lighter because we're changing seasons. Wherever you guys are, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Usyk in the house. PJ, what is going on? DJ Green, my guy. We got a lot of action, man. I woke up this morning, Muscles. I had messages from Muscles. I had messages from Gary. People were asking me in the Discord about locks. We're getting antsy, aren't we? We're about to get into it. I didn't know how you could do long parlays. Guys, I keep the long parlays active as kind of like an homage to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, maybe 6 months ago, before I started giving you guys my bets, I would just on my post section show my winnings, and people would be like, "Damn, like how'd you hit that?" Blah blah, and it would just be my long parlays, my money line. So I kept the long parlay as a feature for the channel and the Discord. My buddies who are professional bettors, they don't bet like that. You're not going to bet $10,000 on a 20 leg. You're not going to bet $20,000 on a 10 leg, but you could sprinkle $100 on a 10 leg and win 1,000. So it's my long parlays, my money line long parlays are just a feature. It gives the bettors another entertaining sort of option. If you're not a professional, not everybody has $10,000 to bet on boxing. You know what I'm saying? So like, I've hit 20 leg befores for like $25 and 1,000. So yeah, the long parlay, if you're not used to it, it's not the only way of gambling. It's more of an entertainment way. I just keep it on the channel. Adu, big weekend. Let's get it. Christian Morales, what's up, big fella? You be safe. David Eister, ESPN Plus. Yeah, we don't get ESPN Plus down here. We get I think Disney. Sal's Ball Top. Let's go, Johnny. David Eister, screw 154. We know Eister doesn't like 154. DJ, anybody know what boxing app the fight's on? Guys, if you get the link, please put it in the Discord. A couple weeks ago, there was a UFC pay-per-view. And I was out and about, and I peeped into the Discord, and you guys were streaming it live. I was like, yeah, the boys. I didn't even know you could do that. It was a Sunday morning. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was out with my girlfriend. Obviously, I have my phone on me. I peep in to see the Discord to see how the boys are doing, and I see you guys streaming in perfect quality the pay-per-view event. So shout out to his username is in the Discord as Mayweather. Shout out to Mayweather. You'll forever be goated. So Mayweather, if you're watching this, if you could get a stream or a link for the fights in Canada today, pop it in the Discord. Rando Light, I turned 36 today, Johnny. I'm telling. Rando Light, happy birthday. One of my best friends turned 41 today. It's a good day. What are you, and I'm not I don't really know signs, but I used to date a Virgo, and she would always let me know about it. Her birthday was September 14th, but I think you might be on the cusp. I don't know shit about star signs. I know that I'm a Taurus. I know some people look really into that sort of stuff. It's a good conversation starter, if anything, if you're trying to impress people, like, not dudes, but girls. I know that the end of July is Leo, because, my current girlfriend, my little baby girl's a Leo, and I'm a Taurus. My ex was a Virgo, September 14th. So if you're September 5th, what are you, on the cusp, something like that? History Vault, which fight are you talking about? What fight is saying? So History Vault, let's get into it, man. Way to keep me on track. We're going to get into it, Josh. I'm going right now, boys. Here we go. Here's the fights I got on right now. I gave you guys this parlay. These are taking place today, okay? Now, there's a couple 50-50 fights. Now, when I put this up in the Discord, there was a little bit contention, and I welcome that. As soon as I put this up in the Discord, the boys were like, dude, do you guys agree with Johnny on these picks? And the first thing I said was, you don't have to agree with me. Do your film study, do your due diligence. These picks are based off of what I'm seeing in my film study, plus statistics, plus percentages. Gambling takes a little bit of a risk. All right, here we go. Guys, the fights start today in 2 hours from now. So 2 hours from now, in my world, is 8:30 a.m. Friday morning. The first fight is Wyatt Sanford versus Semijan Kemijan. I'm not taking action on that, but I do have action on resulted. This is going to be the Osley Aglacies card. Okay. So these are my locks for today. We could add them up together. I already put this on a parlay. So this is a money line lock. Moreno Fendero versus Crichton. Avery Duval versus Cortez. This is just a money line lock for today. I like John Arobio. Odds aren't that great. Throw him on there, $1.04. It looks good when we hit. And then Aglacies. So the odds aren't crazy, right? That's a 4-leg. It's only $1.42. I told Muscles about this $1.42. If you juice it up, if you have one of those apps that gives you a boost, my boost puts me at $1.50. So this 4-leg money line, $1.50. You're going to the 4 fighters are $1.07, $1.14, $1.04, and $1.12. 10,000 gives you 5,000 in return. Now, those are the fights today. That's the Montreal card. Even if you put $100 on this, let's say you put $100 on this 4-leg, you get your money back plus 150. What I would do, keep the 150 in your account and then roll it over tomorrow, because then tomorrow we got fights tomorrow, we got fights the next day, and we got fights the next day. So guys, look at this weekend as sort of, this is how I do have a long parlay, which I have fights from today all the way through the weekend, but I also have little smaller parlays in terms of the fight cards. You know what I'm saying? So I can watch a fight card. I win my bets on the fight card. I roll it over, and then I'll double down on the next fight card. That's another style of how I like to bet. So that's $1.50. Thanks, bro. Shishkin tonight. Never mind, my head is on Friday. Randall Light, Virgo. All women hate Virgo. Turkey Alashik's back in the crib. Who wins the 130-pound tournament? Sugar, Navarrete, Lamont, Fulton, Ford, Charlie, Magsayo, Satsumi. Guys, I got to be honest with you. Who wins that? I would take, this is going to sound crazy. There's a couple good matchups in there. Don't sleep on Charlie Suarez. I mean, Charlie, what I saw Charlie do in the 5th and 6th coming on against Navarrete, I liked what I saw. We know how that fight ended. I'd go Sugar Nunez. Lamont, maybe Lamont or Nunez. I think Lamont beats Fulton. I think Lamont beats Ford. I'd love to see, man, Lamont versus Sugar Nunez might be the fight, though. But Lamont's talking about that, you know, he didn't Lamont say he's not coming back to 130? Unless I'm missing something. I'm pretty sure Lamont, maybe he was saying that just to position himself for that rematch with Tank. But assuming Lamont would come back to 130, man, I would go 50-50 Lamont versus Sugar. But Magsayo's a bit of a dark horse. I like watching him fight. Like I said, Suarez, you know, let's say Ray Ford wakes up tomorrow and wants to change his style. You know, he has what it takes, I feel, to make... He's still young. Don't write Raymond Ford off either. I'm not too high on him in terms of being like a pound-for-pound guy. But there is something about Ray Ford still that I kind of see like, there might be something there. It could be one of those things we just might end up waiting, and then before you know it, it never shows up. History Vault, Johnny, I have a dog pick. I'll message me. I love these. I got two dog picks. Tenny Alger, what's up? You still leaning with the over 8.5 for Aglacies fight? Tenny, I went heavy on that. Okay, so let's talk about that, boys. This isn't a sexy pick. Guys, do you remember when Bruce Carrington last fought? Bruce Carrington last fought, I think, 2 months ago. And everybody was hot. And I'm only using this to segue Tenny's question to me. Bruce Carrington fought a few months ago. It was one of these fight cards where there were a lot of big favorites, a lot of big money line favorites, and we were trying to be the archaeologists like we are. We're trying to find a good value bet. A risky bet, but a good value bet. Something that we could, you know, get good odds on. And what I came up with was Bruce Carrington, who was like $1.10 on the money line. He was like $1.65 to win by stoppage, but he was a plus 600 to win a decision. And, you know, we broke that fight down. I talked about the stylistic matchup, and I took Carrington at plus 600, and we hit, and it was nice. And I'm doing the same on this fight. I broke down Shishkin. I broke down Vlad. I broke down Shishkin. I broke down Aglacies. I uploaded that fight Stats Don't Lie video. You guys could see my logic with this. I like Shishkin. I like Aglacies by decision. I got him at plus 550. Now, high knockout to win ratio. You know, I've been talking about this ad nauseum all week. I've been reasoning with myself. I actually went heavy on this pick. So, like, I could screenshot it for you. I could put it in the Discord. I have a outright pick. I'm looking at my screen right now. Osley Aglacies, points or decision. I got him at plus 530. and I went heavy on this. And so everybody likes it, and it's not so much what Aglacies can or can't do. It's basically based on what Shishkin can do. I feel that like the knockout, the odds suck. Aglacies to knock out Shishkin, I think is a what? $1.35. Aglacies to win a decision is 530. This is gonna sound crazy. Like Shishkin by decision is 725. I can't wait for this fight. This is something that I'm either gonna look like a genius or look like an idiot, and I'm fine with that. But I think people are sleeping on Shishkin. I don't think he should be a 6-1 dog. I think he is, really, really good. I think he beat William Skull. I think a lot of people haven't watched him. People that are just, I didn't, to say Osley Aglacies, especially maybe I have PTSD from Yenis Diaz last weekend. And then, over the last few months with these sort of like main event fights, we saw with Resendez versus Plant. I know that's a different trajectory fight, in terms of careers. Everything we've seen from Osley, he's looked great, but he does have flaws. He's not a perfect fighter. His clinch game isn't that good. He hasn't really been stretched out. He's gone the distance before. We've never really seen him hurt before. We've never seen him how to be the nail before. The question is Shishkin going to be that guy to do that against him? The thing about Shishkin's style in his game, though, is at 34, like I said, he could easily be 17-0. He's also a front foot fighter. He's going to be more athletic than people think he is. He's going to be a little bit quicker than people think he is. I think if Shishkin goes out there with the game plan that I think he should go out there with and not engage early, if he's going to go out there like on his sword and try to bully and pressure Aglacies right off jump, which I've heard some analysts say he should, I don't think he should do that. I think he should pick and choose his spots early. I think he should try to get out of the first quarter of the fight, meaning like get past the fourth round. And then I think from there, Aglacies will settle in, Shishkin will settle in, and then Shishkin could use his counters. We'll see what happens. It's an interesting matchup. I'm glad they're fighting. I think we're going to see the best version of Shishkin, though. You know what I'm saying? This is for that IBO belt at 168, that belt that, a lot of people don't put too much credibility in it. But the one fact is about the IBO holder is whoever is that champion tends to fight for the IBF strap. We know that strap is up for grabs next week, the winner of Canelo versus Crawford. But let's say Shishkin, I talked about this the other day. Let's say Shishkin beats Skull, which I think he did. And for some reason, Shishkin doesn't get the Canelo fight like Skull got the Canelo fight. For whatever reason, a different timeline. And he goes into this fight against Aglacies 17-0 instead of 16-1 coming off of a loss. I don't think the odds would be as wide. I don't. I think those odds have a lot to do with Aglacies' knockout to win ratio and a lot to do with Shishkin's loss to Skull. But, that's just what I'm looking at. Eddie, you got Nunez over 5.5? Yep, I do. I got Nunez over 5.5. They changed it to 6.5. That's another one, guys. These outcomes. Anybody can. I don't want to say anybody can pick a winner because it's not that simple. But when we start, if we look at the level of difficulty of picking fights, obviously the winner's the easiest level. Who's going to win? Unless it's 50-50 fights, right? The odds are telling us who's going to win for the most part. After that, it's like, it gets a little, how do they win? Knockout artist versus a guy who points guys, it could be easy. But then it's like over under. Then it's like pick around, that sort of thing. So when we're talking about Sugar Nunez versus Chris Diaz, I uploaded my prediction yesterday. I got the over on Monday. I messaged Muscles. I messaged Gary on my Monday, which was your Sunday if you're in America. I said, I love this over 5.5. So I went heavy on Nunez, over 5.5. That then got moved to 6.5. Now, if you still could get it at 6.5, I still love that bet. I think that people, once again, are sleeping on Chris Diaz. You know what I mean? When you watch Diaz, he's only been stopped once. I'm not saying Diaz is going to beat Sugar Nunez. Sugar Nunez is one of my favorite guys at 130. I talked about him before he went to Japan. I love his style. In my breakdown video, I compared him to sort of a harder puncher version of Zepeda. But shout out to one of the members, one of the Discord members who commented on the video. He said that, you know, he reminds him more of a smaller, better Biev in terms of that, you know, having that pop, that pressure forward style. And, you know, I think somewhere in between, I think he has, I haven't really looked at the statistics. I couldn't really find proper statistics. You would think there would be a database of said fighter, Sugar Nunez, over his career, how many punches per round does he average? I typed that in. I went on Grok. I typed that in on also ChatGPT. You couldn't get real stats. So that's a stat. That's a database I wish we had. You know what I'm saying? Like a specific database. Why does that not exist? And if it does exist, maybe somebody enlighten me. But, you know, to me, off jump, I think that based off of their styles, Nunez probably throws more than Better Biev. And I don't think Better Biev, he looks like a mini Better Biev. I was thinking about like volume punches per round sort of comparison to Zepeda. But anyway, moving forward, Chris Diaz has been stopped once. He has a handful of losses. He got stopped years ago against Navarrete late. I think it was like in the 10th, 11th, or 12th. He's been in there actually with better competition. That could be controversial, but you know, he fought a 10-0 Shakur Stevenson. He lost a decision, which is no shade. He fought Dogbo. He fought, like I told you, Navarrete. So my point is, Diaz is also a proud Puerto Rican. This makes for a fun firefight. Only been stopped once. One's 30 years old. One's 28 years old. It's going to be, I'm leaning on the fact that historically with how Sugar goes about his business, I could see a late stoppage. I could see a decision. But I took the over at 5.5 to answer your question. Yeah, Chivo High. I'm posting those props today in the Discord. I'm going to give you I'll show you the bets in the Discord. I got a lot of stuff to post. It's been a busy week for me outside of the boxing landscape, dealing with a property here. You know, dealing with, we had a short week. You know what I'm saying? Clients coming here, readjusting my calendar. I have to get out the house today. I have to leave the house in about an hour all day. So yeah, be patient with me in the Discord. You boys will definitely be getting my Method of Victory parlay, my favorite props, and my locks today. They're coming. I already gave you my long parlay. I'm also going to give you a little action on the UFC. I have a 2-leg lock in the UFC. The odds are pretty nice. And I'm going to give you you football heads, because we got that American football channel in there. The NFL starts today, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna show you a little action I'm going with there. Johnny, I'm already working on that. Nice. Josh Portnoy. Hey, any thoughts on Suleiman? Yeah. So Josh Portnoy, I'm glad you asked that. Josh says, hey, any thoughts on Suleiman Segoa versus Brian Acosta? So on paper, guys, Suleiman is $1.65. Acosta is $2.30. Like, based on paper, Acosta's the dog. Acosta could definitely win this fight. So if people are like, what's your upset alert, blah, blah, blah. I said yesterday, even though I have Segawa on my money line, I mean, Acosta could definitely win this fight. This is a fun fight, exciting fight. It's going to come down to Acosta doesn't really he doesn't really punch that well. We're going to see. It's going to come down to volume. I think it should be a firefight. It's going to come down to how the judges are scoring it, the pace, the tempo, who can make better adjustments late, who can win the end. Pay attention if you're watching that fight. Who can win the last segment of each round? I think that's going to be part of each fighter's game plan. I took Segawa on a long parlay on the money line, but I'm not against. I told you guys this yesterday. I'm not against having a little sneaky two-legger with Acosta as the dog on a separate parlay, a little sneaky hedge. So that's what I was thinking about. There's another fight, a really fun fight, Guevara versus Curio. Guevara, I took Guevara at $1.70 on my long parlay, but he's on upset alert on paper. Curio is at $2.45 on a little sneaky side parlay, dog parlay. You take Curio and you take Acosta and sprinkle a little bit on it for them to upset Segawa And Guevara, that pays, I think, 6-1. So it's just something to think about. Got any props for the Canelo fight? Chivo, hi. I've been stressing about Canelo Bud card for the last 6 months. So let's get through this weekend, Chivo. We got all next weekend. Guys, I promise you, I go live 2 times each day. You're going to be getting my Stats Don't Lie breakdowns on the entire Canelo card. So just be patient. It's just the way I like to bet, the way I operate, the way I'm organized is I have to stay segmented what's in front of us. When you watch my Stats Don't Lie videos, I always say about each fighter, what have you done for me lately? It's kind of like how I operate. You know, I can't look too far ahead. Turkey, people named Diaz normally have a good chin. Except Joey Diaz. Are you betting the Conlan fight? I am Joey. So, yeah, I'm not going heavy on Mick Conlan, but I broke down the tape, Conlan versus Bateson. I watched Fight Week. I watched all the interviews. The UK did a really cool little sort of video segment on Mick Conlan. I said it earlier in the week. Conlan, if Conlan can't beat Bateson, please retire. You know, it doesn't look great, his 3 losses, getting stopped 3 times. But we have to remember, this is an Olympian. This is a former world champion. I like what I heard from Conlan when he talked about he wants to fight Josh Warrington. The reason why I use the Josh Warrington anchor in my logical reason is because it tells you all you need to know about why, the intention of why Mick Conlan is fighting. Don't get it twisted. Conlan goes out and beats Bateson. Him and Warrington could fill out a stadium. That's a huge payday. It's a big fight for the, you know, from that part of the world. A great domestic fight between 2 guys who at one time were on top of the mountain. And that's all the intention I need to know. That's all the intention I need to know. Because with Conlan, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing this? Why are you still here? He's only 33. Bateson's only 31. Bateson doesn't really punch. I don't actually like how he punches. So I got Conlan to win that fight. Good question, though. PJ, who you got, Eagles, Cowboy? If I'm betting on NFL, mate, the NFC East is tough to bet on. Let's stick to boxing real quick. Hand history ball. I watched some tape on Acosta Segawa. I'm more torn on the fight now. Acosta doesn't jab enough. In my opinion, Acosta needs to knock out Segawa to win. If Acosta throws... History vault, you're not wrong with that, and this is why I'm leaning towards Segawa, because Acosta really doesn't... I don't see him having the power to stop Segawa. I like Acosta, though, but, you know, he fought really well in his last fight. I got Sula as well. Tashinori, anything on Oscar? Tashinori, good question, man. Oscar's fighting this weekend. He's fighting in a few days. His fight's kind of flying under the radar. He's fighting against Richard Medina. That fight goes down in 2 days? Yeah, that fight goes down in 2 days. We could talk about it tomorrow on the live stream. Everybody, welcome Hablando con Rico TV. We have a new Johnny Says Boxing Insider. Hablando, if you're on this live stream, mate, go to the YouTube channel, go to members section. So you now have access, Hablando, on YouTube to a whole different section of content. It's called members. In that members section, you'll get the Discord link. Now, once you get to the Discord link, it's a whole new world. You'll see. If you have any questions, mate, hit me up. I appreciate the support. Welcome. Hablando con Rico TV. Let's get it. History Vault says, Johnny, what's your thoughts on Harvey Smith versus Josh Babb? I was looking at that fight, History. I got to be honest with you, mate. I didn't have time to watch tape. So if you've watched tape kind of... And moving forward, guys, when we ask about fights, this is just sort of something that you guys could do. When we ask about fights that I haven't spoken about, Harvey Smith versus Josh Babb, maybe in your question say that I've watched tape already, I feel this sort of way, what do you think? Or I haven't got to this tape yet, have you? So to answer both, History, I haven't got to the tape. I'm trying to find the odds right now. Yeah, I see why you ask. History, we could get to it on Discord because that fight's in 3 days and the odds look juicy. Harvey's $1.65. Josh Babb is $2.40. I could possibly do like an expedited film study on both guys. I could find an hour tomorrow to do it if you really want me to. Let's see how our bets go today. See if we carry over anything. Because you're right, the odds on that fight are presenting us with a good opportunity to find some good value. I haven't seen tape yet. Valdez retirement fight. You think so? I mean, Oscar looked good against Liam. Damn, when Oscar Valdez at his best, fun to watch. There's boxing's such a great sport. There's so many guys, former champions, guys who've been to the top level, who just give the fans everything. Oscar Valdez, he does have that asterisk by his name though. FX coaching, Kai Bahayo, money line, yes sir. I love that bit. I love that pick, Kai Bahayo. And then also, is it who's Benoit Saint Denis fighting? Is he fighting Rufy? I like Rufy and Bahayo. Aglacies doesn't look the type of guy that's looking to Rambler. You're not wrong. Rambler, Aglacies could crack this fight, dude. Like I said, Aglacies could end the fight early. I'm leaning on Shishkin's experience. I mean, look, of Aglacies' resume, who jumps out off of the channel for you, off of the page for you? Ablando, I'm live. Thank you, a pleasure. Ricardo Colon. No way, man. Prashad Colon. I did a feature on Prashad Colon 3 years ago. YouTube took it down. Man, much respect to Prashad Colon. If you guys don't know his story, man, it's a stark reminder that boxing is the most beautiful and brutal sport out there. It's why I'm so sort of stern against covering fake boxers. It's why I don't give my channel attention to sort of like influencer boxing, because boxing, it's part of our life. I grew up with it since I can remember. I was going to fights. I told you, first fight I ever saw was Boom Boom Mancini in my hometown, Youngstown, Ohio, 1988. I was 6 years old at this baseball stadium called Pemberton Park. That years later, I ended up playing baseball in that same stadium. But yeah, we welcome you. Prashad Colon, man, he was a great talent, and we think about him all the time on the channel. History Vault, the film is out there on the fight. Who do you like, History Vault? Ruffy, same. Kyle. So Ryan Hong, I like Ruffy and Bahayo on the money line. Turkey Alashik, why is Lara still champion? Because Lara keeps winning. Turkey. I mean, it's one of those divisions that, he keeps winning, mate. That's all you could really do. But if the Aglacies fight went the distance, could rely on, yeah. FX coaching. FX coaching poses an interesting point. If Osley Aglacies versus Shishkin goes the distance, could Shishkin win, relying on his experience and his jab? He's going to need more than his jab to win. He's going to need to get Aglacies' respect early. He's going to definitely need to take a risk and land his backhand. Aglacies has a great hook. You know what I'm saying? He throws it, whipping. From that, his back hook. It's not his lead hook. And that's the one where people over time say he lands a lot of rapid punches. And this is what I said. I debunked that. I was like, they're not rapid punches, what he's landing. It's because of his opponents feel the power and they start sort of cowering away in the pocket and they get stationary. What Shishkin is going to have to do is, if he can't get Aglacies' respect early, right? And Aglacies is starting to tee off, Shishkin is going to have to use his feet. He's going to have to use the entire ring. Will he be able to do that? His nature is on the front foot sort of guy, but I like his ring IQ. I've seen him in there make proper adjustments before to win fights. It's an interesting fight, man. It's not just one of these, on paper, Aglacies is a knockout artist, 90% plus knockout to win ratio, undefeated, huge favorite. It's not that simple. I don't think it's this simple. Everyone forgot about Prashad. Yeah, he was a nice fighter, man. It bums me out, DJ. It bums me out because I don't like. I could talk on. It's a brutal reminder that we don't put. And when you look at Prashad's career, man, he was such an active young guy. He was getting promoted nicely, top rank, and he was really active. He was fighting a lot in a small amount of time. And, he was the type of guy to put his hand up to fight more and more. And this is what you do in boxing. Your handlers, handle you in a certain way. And he was kind of a throwback in that sense of, winning, let's move on. Winning, let's move on. Let's get to the top. Let's get to the top. Let's not just wait and see who wants to fight. Let's just fight. And so from a sports science perspective, we always could say hindsight is 20/20 when we look back on something such, as, the fight that happened with Prashad. And all the shots that he took in the back of the head. Because if we're talking about rapid punches with Aglacies, just watch the fight we're talking about. And we could talk about how the ref didn't do his job. We could talk about, you know, maybe there should be sanctions. The sanctioning bodies maybe could, install some rules about having specific amount of time before fights. Because look at his box rate. He was taking a lot of fights with really, not resting sort of thing. But it was just a recipe. It's like I said, it's just a brutal reminder of how the sport could turn, I was just thinking Aglacies likes a ravage punching. Highlights, history vault, not sure at the moment. I was picking Harvey. However, after tape, Bab has better fundamentals and jab. Harvey is a come forward fighter looking to throw hands. Harvey has much more power. Okay, so if Harvey has more power and Bab has better fundamentals, then history vault, I would then deductive reason look at have they been, who's been in deeper waters before? Who's boxed some more pro rounds before? You could go that route. Who do you feel is going to have the more slick, savvy fighter IQ going into it? Is the guy with the better fundamentals and a better jab, is he sort of an operator where he uses the entire ring? Or is he the guy who could be lured into a dogfight? Because if you're talking about a guy who likes to come forward with more power, then, the best way to negate that power usually is with timing, right? Or your feet. So if he's an orthodox fighter, his power is coming from his backhand and it's ortho versus ortho, just using this as an example, and, the timing doesn't go your way if I'm trying to negate my opponent's power, then the next level to that is I need to circle away from the power. So both ortho versus ortho, right? Maybe I'm still figuring out the time. He's trying to set me up with his backhand. The last thing I want to do is let him control the front foot and let him walk me into something this way. So then you want to circle out. So it's just something to look for in the tape study to see if you've seen signs of the kid with the better fundamentals being able to use his feet to avoid the power. Fundora should be forced to move up in weight. Unfair conduct when Keith Thurman. What? I disagree, Turkey. He should be forced to move up weight because genetically he was blessed at 6'5". What are you talking about? So should Tank Davis be forced to move down because he's 5'4"? Harvey has the better resume. Where can I watch Shishkin? The boys are going to put the Shishkin Aglacies card in the Discord. Omvard, to join the Discord, click the link in the stream. History Vault, little edge, and resume for Harvey. I'll have a look at it, History. I'll have a look at it when I get a chance. All right, guys, so we're about 40 minutes into this live stream. I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer. You guys can keep the questions coming. I'm going to go over two dogs real quick like I talked about. Here's some locks real quick. I think these odds aren't going to be super great, but this is for the big bettors, the guys who are putting thousands. Pat McCormick money line, Dickinson money line, and you take. Now I was going to go Jordan White. This is what I told my boy. If you take Jordan White money line, Dickinson money line, McCormick money line, that's $1.61. That's this kid I know 10,000 to win 6,000. That's a smart bet. He was going to throw. He was going to throw Aglacies on there. Like, it sounds crazy. If Osley Aglacies goes out and wins by first round knockout, I'm not going to be shocked. But with that being said, there's something about this fight why I'm not going to put Aglacies on my lock list. Even though I've gone heavy on him, I've gone heavy on the distance. I don't know how much of that has to do with... Did you guys watch Shishkin's film? Did you guys watch Shishkin against Skull? Did you watch Shishkin in his fight before? Because there's not too much film on Aglacies in terms of watching him fight somebody who could operate. Has Aglacies even ever been... So he's 13-0. Look at his resume. He's only fought 43 rounds. Everything on paper checks out. Big southpaw, big for the division, athletic, could crack. Once again, though, guys, when you think about that Cuban modern style, he's not a guy who really likes to cook in the pocket. He's not a guy that's really fought anyone who is comfortable catch and shooting with him either. I'm not saying Shishkin's that guy. But what victory is his best victory? He went 12 with Chilemba 3 years ago. So it was in his 5th fight. He goes 12 with a guy. Chilemba at the time was 26-8. He goes 12 rounds with Chilemba, right? Wins first round. Then goes 10 rounds with Velikovsky, who was 21-2. So he's gone deep before. I mean, I couldn't find. Have you guys seen Shishkin get wobbled or dropped before? Who are we gonna say is Aglacies' best win? He stopped an undefeated Petro Ivanov. Beko was 28-3. He stopped him. I don't know. Shishkin. Like I said, he could have easily won the skull fight. Jose Uzcategui. I don't know if you guys know much about Uzcategui. Uzcategui was a guy who was 34 when he fought Shishkin. What is that? 3 years ago now? Yeah. Uzcategui was 32-5, 29 knockouts. I mean, Uzcategui's a motherfucker. Shishkin beat him. Wide. Outboxed him. At least the scorecards were wide. I'd have to rewatch it and rescore it. I'm just looking at... Sana was a good win for Aglacies. DJ says Shishkin's never been rocked or wobbled. Blue Collar says, why was Aglacies... Wonder why it hasn't been signed to a major promotion company. These are questions you have to ask. Sana was a good win for Aglacies. Yeah, Becca, that's what I was going to say. I don't know, man. This is interesting too, guys, when we're looking at who we're putting our money on. Who's to say if we woke up and we looked at those odds and it was a 50-50 fight, right? So this is where it's something we have to think about. If we woke up in the whole fight week, Shishkin and Aglacies was 50-50, then I would probably be way more comfortable picking Aglacies by knockout, which sounds odd. So I'm trying to understand my own reasoning here. But because it's not 50-50, and they're still the same fighters, it's not like the fighters change, and I see Shishkin at 6-1, it kind of changes things for me, man. It's an odd one to kind of wrap your head around from my end. I'm trying to do it in real time with you guys on the live stream. Because, you know, we like winning. I think it might, I mean, is anyone taking Shishkin? Does anybody see Shishkin beating Aglacies? This is another one of those fights where I wish that we had statistics, that there was a database, because if Shishkin can out-volume Aglacies, when you watch both of them fight, they're going to be there to get hit. Shishkin does have a tendency to sort of his, you know, when he's exchanging, when he's moving laterally, kind of exiting this way rather than here. He doesn't like, you don't like to see that, especially when he's going up against a good puncher. It's one of the hardest things when you're learning how to box is when you're doing your footwork drills, exiting and then doing your, you know, circling left, circling right, is when you're learning how to keep your guard responsible defensively, exiting the pocket. It's a discipline to be able to exchange and then exit with a high guard and either circling right or circling left. So when you're looking at a guy like Shishkin, who's at the world level, when he does that, he kind of exits here. So that kind of worries me a bit, you know, because that could be timed. Aglacies could time that if he picks up on that read, say he's exchanging, not landing clean, he times Shishkin on the exits, and then maybe he you know, takes an angle and throws his back hook and catches him because Shishkin's hands down. I actually could see that happening based off of what I've seen with Shishkin's defense on the exits. So it just depends on how much you want to overthink or how much you want to analyze what you see on film. But then again, on the contrary, I could see Shishkin frustrating Aglacies a bit and not letting Aglacies operate on how he wants to operate, always on the front foot. You have to back him up. You have to fight. I would fight Aglacies in a clinch. like that when you watch his film, it sounds crazy, but you can't be at range with him, and it's going to be tough to beat him when you're punching with him. So, you want to kind of smother his punches. You want to try to get, you got to land body shots. It's going to be interesting to see if Shishkin's going to be able to get off to the body and, maybe get his respect enough to make him second guess at least. Because if you have a guy like Aglacies who's just boxing, cruising, not having to make adjustments, literally just going in there all guns a-blazing, he's going to be tough to deal with. PJ says he's going to bet on the knockout. That's in the knockout is $1.35. So, no hate on that. I mean, a lot of people are betting on that knockout. A lot of people are betting on that knockout. So I'm going to stay on a little bit. This is what Adu, this is what Adu, is this a good thing or bad thing, brother? Adu. Hey, I didn't go heavy on Diaz, though, Adu. I didn't go heavy on... That was your boy, Gary. Gary bet the house on Diaz. And, I mean, I'm not putting his bets on blast, but he told you, boys, that Gary was out here. That shit ruined his weekend, maybe his 2 weeks. So, put it this way, boys. I'm never betting money that's going to ruin my weekend. I do this straight up for the love of the game, to create a community, to share knowledge, but I'm not betting to get rich. I'm not a gambler to get rich. I'm a student of the game, and I feel that I do enough work and I have enough sort of strike ratio that the boys who have come to me, who do bet to get rich, I could give them at least my honest feedback, at least what I'm seeing. So I get messaged all the time on different social media channels. I get emailed. You boys have been hitting me up a lot on the emails too. So the PTSD from the Diaz fight, I mean, if that's the case, I still got PTSD from Resendez versus Plant. You know what I'm saying? The Resendez versus Plant. Or I got PTSD from Tevin versus Floyd. Auntie Sco was out here making me bet with my, making me emotionally bet. If it wasn't for Auntie Sco blocking me, I would have probably picked Floyd. But I got caught betting with my heart and not with my wallet, and I took Tevin. History Vault. Aglacies is overrated and his record is padded heavily due to very good matchmaking. To be honest, I was going to lay big money on Shishkin money line, but I went through the tape. Skull tape makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of seeing the same thing. David in the house. What's up, big fella? History Vault. Weigh-in photos is bad for Shishkin as well. He looks very dry. Yeah, he always does. Some guys look really drawn out here. Some guys carry their weight in different areas. I know what you're talking about. Both are, Anvar says, both are super underrated. I've been following them for years. They deserve their place in the ranks, but that's boxing's nobody ever cared about Murtazaev and Majmov till they got their blessing. Yeah, it's something with the European fighters, mate. I've covered Bakram on the channel before. I definitely covered Majmov. I did a breakdown before Majmov got the fight against Bud when he fought for the, I think it was the vacant WBA against the undefeated, I think it was an undefeated Russian guy. And all you'd have to do is look at Majmov and Murtazaev. Now, this is going to sound crazy. Murtazaev is a bit of the boogeyman right now. I still think, if we're doing hypotheticals and I have a fighter who fights at 154 and I'm matchmaking, and I have a guy who's in like the top 10, and I have a guy who's durable, and I have a guy who could crack, I still would rather fight Murtazaev than Majmov. And I still think, even though Majmov, the loss to Bud, the loss to Virgil, I still think Majmov is a tougher out than Murtazaev in terms of game planning. Now, that game plan, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. That game plan Tim Tszyu brought against Murtazaev was an awful game plan. I was shocked to see how amateur that game plan was regarding how egotistical it was. You're going to take a dude who has more experience than you, who it's well documented could crack, who had just been in a dogfight. Murtazaev had just gone a long fight, and he had just had a brutal cut because of Ramadan. That was well documented. You could see that. So why not, from Tszyu's team's perspective, Why not take Murtazaev into deep water? When you see that he had just gone a long fight, when you see that he struggles with weight, when you see that he had done this fight, took a lot of shots when he was fasting, that shows that tells you that there's going to be damage. That tells you that, scientifically the body doesn't recover as quick as it normally would when you're fasting, in terms of the brain, in terms of the recovery, the inflammation of the joints, all that sort of thing. Then why not have a game plan that, pick and pop early, touch and go early, and then draw him out to the mid to late rounds and then turn it on? Like, the idea that Tszyu, after everything he saw with Murtazaev, was just going to press a button and dog walk Murtazaev, that was offensive for boxing fans. I'm still offended by that performance. And that's, that just goes to show you that those handlers, and this is no shade to Glenn. Glenn is Tim's manager. Glenn managed Costa. No shade to Glenn. No shade to Tim's grandpa. No shade to the camp. But that just goes to show you the old mindset, the old game planning of how Costa went about his work, and them thinking, call it egotistical, call it delusional, call it confidence, call it love, call it whatever you will. They handled Tim how they handled Costa, and it wasn't too sort of shocking to be able to tell that they're not the same fighters, but they thought Tim was, and they think he is, and that is, I mean, why do you not take Murtazaev into deep waters? I don't think Murtazaev's the boogeyman. I don't think he's the most feared guy at 54. Like I told you before, and like I'll say, even if they fight, if the fight gets signed with Murtazaev versus Josh Kelly, I would take Josh Kelly in that fight. 100%. I think Kelly's speed, his angles, his size, I think he would give Murtazaev fits. And I don't think it's necessarily people don't want to fight Murtazaev. There's, obviously there's something with promotions. There's a lot of guys at 54 that, the media say that they don't want to fight Murtazaev, but I think people put their hand up before to fight him for whatever reason. I don't know if it's his camp asking for too much. I don't think he's that tough of a guy in terms of strategy to plan for, unless he's one of these guys that just touches you and the power is different. But we've seen him in other fights. We've seen him go life and death before. And to answer you, I think, to put a bow on this, I think Madrimov is a trickier guy to game plan for. I do. Like I said, I would rather fight Murtazaev than Madrimov if I had, like I already talked about, if my guy could punch a bit, if my guy, has never been stopped before. Madrimov's a nightmare to game plan for. To win rounds against that guy, it's interesting to see if Madrimov makes adjustments. You know that Madrimov watches that Bud Crawford tape and probably can't sleep at night in terms of how many wasted movements he expended without, giving receipts. All of those feints, but not throwing anything. All those feints, and then by the late rounds, the championship rounds, those feints didn't matter anymore. They were just sort of wasted movements. And Bud, that's where, I scored at 8-4. You could be kind and scored 7-5. But it was 100% those later rounds where Crawford was scoring and Madrimov wasn't, when Bud was using his timing and Madrimov was being predictable, to where when you watch his tape from the Madrimov side, it's like, God damn, you should have just threw a bit more. You should have wasted a little bit less, threw a bit more, conserved your energy a little bit more, and been a less sort of, because his style is twitchy, his style is feint heavy, but, there's areas you could tighten it up with. And the version we saw against Virgil, he didn't look the same. I'm not saying that, he did come out and say he was sick. I'm not using that as an excuse. But Madrimov looked like he didn't have as much pop in his step. It looked like his explosivity and his angles were a bit off. How much of that was just Virgil's stressful-ass style? Talk about a fun kid to watch, man. Talk about the best guy in boxing who doesn't have a world title. That's another crazy one. What's Virgil now, 27? Well documented his health issues, well documented. He had rhabdo. Rhabdo kills CrossFitters. There's Google CrossFitting rhabdo. Basically, you get it from extreme exhaustion. Your body then starts to create toxins that can't be filtered through the liver, and then this causes sort of an array of issues within the body. It's from overtraining. And so, to think about, I still kind of look at Virgil when he was 21. Time flies. He's already 27. It's a fun fight, him versus Lubin. There's so much to talk about, boys. I'm going to wrap it up soon. Both are super underrated. In the boogeyman, I'm the boogeyman. PJ Shishkin likes to fight on the inside. Close. This is what I'm saying, PJ. And I'm not sold on Aglacies on the inside. David says, have you looked at the Valenzuela versus Cardoso footage? I haven't yet, mate. I haven't. David, when's that fight go down? Oh, that fight goes down this week. Jonathan Cardoso, Luis Valenzuela. Who are you tipping in that, David? Because right now, that's another one of these fights that I could look at because the odds. Cardoso's $1.99. Valenzuela is $1.93. That fight goes down tomorrow. David, could you put that in the Discord or message me? Because I didn't even look at that fight. FX, whose resume is stronger, Aglacies, Shishkin? It's a good question, FX Coaching. I would say Shishkin. I like Shishkin's resume. Fabio or Parker, who you got to think, Johnny? It's a good fight. I think they're doing Joseph Parker a bit dirty. I know some people don't like all the pity party being thrown at Joseph Parker, but Fabio Worley, mate, is that the fight we really thought Parker was going to get? The fight people want, obviously, is the Usyk fight. I think Usyk claimed, are you guys paying attention to the controversy? Usyk claims that he was injured, but then he posts this video of him dancing. There's a lot of sort of unanswered questions being wrapped in that fight. Shishkin fought Skull, who's like Speedy Gonzalez. Yeah, like I said, guys, watch the Vladimir Shishkin versus Jose Uzcategui fight. Because, Uzcategui is a guy that nobody talks about. Big puncher, good resume, and Shishkin won a lot of rounds. Is this the hardest puncher, Shishkin? I don't know. Who does? When you look at Uzcategui, like I said, they fought 3 years ago. Uzcategui was 30-4 when he fought Shishkin with 29 knockouts. So Uzcategui is a guy with an 86% career knockout to win ratio, a 6'2" guy, literally on paper the same exact as Aglacies. He's just not a southpaw. He's an orthodox fighter. Follow Mike TV's tapping in. What's up, Johnny? Second live stream today. I've caught him riding the Aglacies. All right, Mike. We're due for one of these odds, right? Mike, let's get it. We're due for one of these odds. Good hit on the Dana White Contender Series. Sorry about the horse. Hopefully you cashed out. Follow Mike TV. One of my best advice, guys. If you hit, no matter how big the hit is, if it can pay a bill, cash that bitch out. You know what I'm saying? If it can pay your rent, if it can pay your car, if it can pay your light, if it can pay your phone, cash it out and then leave a little bit of something to sprinkle. Because you said in the Discord when you hit, you were going to cash out but leave a little bit to throw on the horse. And the horse obviously was a dud, so my bad on that. But, I told you don't go heavy. One of my clients owns horses. He sent me some insider information. I think he finished 5th, but he was a 7-1 going into it. I put that in the Discord. Amvar Mobili is the most overrated 68 between all of them. Bazignan was boxing well in the Munguia fight. Yeah, people sleep on Eric Bazignan. That was a fun fight. Skull looked terrible and barely edged the Shishkin fight. I thought Shishkin beat Skull. This is Osley's first test. Amvar, you bring up good points, mate. DJ Green, there's no film on Shishkin. DJ, in the Discord, message Chilltown. I think Chilltown has the tape on Shishkin versus Uzcategui. These guys were all undefeated and highly ranked last year. Guys, I got to wrap it up. Guys, we got a big weekend ahead. I got to hit the road. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I got a road trip. I'm going to be gone all day, dude. So, guys, keep me posted in the Discord. If you guys have the link or if you could stream it in the Discord, the Shishkin Aglacies, we all appreciate it, all the Johnny Says insiders. I will be back tomorrow morning. I'm going live tomorrow morning. I'll be live tomorrow 2 times. But like I said, you might not hear from me until tomorrow. So if you have action on the fights today, good luck. If you're in the Discord, you still want to, you get a hold of me in the Discord. I'll be able to answer your questions. I'll have my phone on me. Other than that, let's get after it. Let's do this.